Welcome to our weekly energy talk. My name is Jona Bryndis. I'm an energy healer, coach, and trainer. And this reflection on our energetic perception here, mostly helpful for energetically sensitives and empaths, is supposed to serve us with a bigger picture, so to speak, a bigger picture understanding. So we have a lot of tension right now in our personal lives and especially in the world. And today I would like to talk about this bigger picture and how we can actually move into more freedom, what we need to claim our freedom. And this is the big topic here in these days, is the freedom of thinking. So if you would like to buy some of the lectures and workshops that we do at the Sacred Self-Healing Community Hub, then check my website. If you are part of this Sacred Self-Healing Community, those are free for you and you can participate free. All right, so what is this momentum that we're dealing with right now? There's a building momentum. If you've watched the forecast for February, you know that there is a fresh energy coming in. I called it a pioneer energy. Let's investigate this a little further here in a minute. But I think what is most predominant for us in our personal lives right now is that there is a little more energy, life force available, but we have no clear concept yet. So there's a bit of confusion here as to what we should invest in, what we should plan, what we should decide. And this confusion, guys, can lead to free-floating anxiety. So I just want to let you know that if you're experiencing a lot of inner back and forth, a lot of sort of undefinable anxiety right now, like this feeling something is coming, but you don't quite know what this means for you, then you're in good company. This is basically how we're all feeling right now. Now, this new momentum, if you look into the collective energy, this is the energy field that surrounds all of us here on this planet, not just in our family, in our city, in our country, but all of us. We can see that there are power struggles on the way. There are new things that are entering the stage here of this worldwide discussion in social media and mainstream media. And there is obviously the notion of uncovering what was previously unconscious, or what we were not aware of, or what we chose not to see. This is a really powerful energy. That's why I'm calling it a pioneer energy. Because in times like transformation, which is, these years that we're in here, these years from 2020 till 2027, those are our transformation years, into something new, a new paradigm, a new way of living, a new way of deciding, a new school of thought. So right now, in those times where we see a lot of, bolstering of politicians, where we see, revolts and protests and things like this, those are all parts of power struggle. We need to recognize that what we see on the outside is also going on the inside. So this power struggle that we see on the outside is not really dominating our life right now, but it is a reflection of what goes on within ourselves. And the way out is obviously not to fight, not to go into this direct confrontation, into more polarization, more split, more accusing or blaming, but in trying to find ways that allow us to work together, that allow us to work things out. This is this pioneer energy. It's really what I called in the February forecast, the reversal of top-down power distribution, to like the power of the masses taking slowly hold of what is going on in the world. So this requires us obviously to be less confused and less split on the inside. So how does this maybe play out in your life right now? So we have this energy coming in that is kind of bringing in wounds from the past. It's triggering things that have to do with our nuclear family, with our parents, if we are from the older generation. Anything that has to do with caretaking is a little schismatic right now, because there is this notion in us that we obviously want to be of service, that we want to be there for our loved ones, especially those who can't take care of themselves, but we also have our own stuff to deal with. So I call this our empathy being weaponized right now, because what's happening, and the reason why this is coming forward as a schism, as a split within ourselves, is that our empathy is kind of taken advantage of. So this is something that I want all of you to have a very proper look at. The month of February is a month of integrity testing throughout, on our personal as well as global collective level. So this transformation of, the way we think, the way we process information, and the way we process our needs and wants. This is a really, really big shift here in our society. Some call it the Aquarian age. Some call it, just really the rise of the power of the people. But really what it is about, if we think about it, is overcoming our inner fears and our inner, self-deception, if you will, because many of these restrictions of freedom that we have been experiencing here in these last 3 years came mainly through the way we were thinking about what was happening, and perhaps not so much due to what was actually happening. And I think it's no longer a conspiracy theory if you look at the messaging that is coming in from the outside, or that has been coming in from the outside, as authoritative, as virtue signaling, as splitting you, putting you into this catch-22 between a rock and a hard place. And many call this mind control or infodemic. This is something that we need to take seriously, because the way information travels nowadays is new. It hasn't been like this, not only, for 20 years. So as we are, starting to question and to test the integrity of, media, the outlets, and also the corporations, that are dominating the media, say, with their advertising money, the narrative is changing. And right here, guys, is something that I need you to pay attention to. If a narrative, be it within yourself, the stories that you're telling yourself over and over and over again, until you forget that it was a lie, until you forget that it actually wasn't based on truth. When there is a narrative, that means there is some kind of untruth underneath that. Otherwise, the narrative wouldn't be needed. In our own personal lives, we wouldn't need to justify it. We wouldn't need to defend it, or to hide something, or to feel bad about something, to feel guilty about something. So this is a part of the personal consciousness work that you need to engage with. Is what is the narrative that you are telling yourself? That's integrity testing on yourself. What have I told myself, and obviously, whom it concerns, that justified what I did? And this is very uncomfortable to a degree, and we need to be careful here. Yeah, to not go from one extreme to the next, yeah, from oblivion or naivete into cynicism. This isn't helping, guys. What we really need to do to claim our freedom, and how this has to happen in our collective as well, yeah, as this self-organized organism that we are, yeah, as humans here, 8 billion people. Yeah, we need to stop seeing the world through a story, through a narrative, and investigate it for ourselves. And this is, a process that requires us to learn a few tools. And it may seem so simple if you think about it, because we all have our, viewpoints and perspectives. But there is something that we all have but not use. It would say like only 10% of the population are actually using that, and that is our higher thinking. Our higher thinking originates in our ability to have our own insights and the ability to freely think. And this is the big process that we're in here right now in these next 3-4 years. Yeah, we're moving toward a larger part of the population starting to think for themselves as a response. And this is important. This explains the past 3 years as a response to the confrontation with untruth, as I called it. Right now, here in this phase, yeah, of this transformation process, it's about us checking on our own integrity and to take charge of the expressions of that. Yeah, to plan ahead, to be proactive. We know something is coming. Yes, change is coming. And yes, we are the change that we have been waiting for. This is a battle, okay, that plays out within ourselves and in our collective. So I like using collective energies to show me what this inner battle is about. So when I analyze collective energies, I do this once a month, and you can be there live with the energetic tune-ups that I offer, where I clear your energy and send this energy through you and see how your system responds to it. It's usually at the end of the month. These energetic expressions of collective energies become visible for me in the individual. So in order to resolve this, we need to look at a bigger picture here. We need to look at the greater task that we as collective have to make sense of what our personal pain, what our personal grief, what our personal fear is. Otherwise, we can't really be proactive, can we? How can we make plans for a future that is unknown to us? The fear of the unknown is ultimately the breeding ground of all darkness in us, guys. Yeah, that's why we have an ego. The ego is not the darkness. The ego is just a fail-safe in us that is supposed to handle, yeah, the psychic stress that we experience through all these inner confusions and schisms. And as we are moving into greater fields of tension, yeah, which are economy, money, health, world war, climate change, energy, food supply, those are all subjects that we are being bombarded with right now, and rightly so. We have been quite naive or oblivious, yeah, for quite some time. If you were younger, obviously, it's not you personally, but our collectives. And as we are being exposed to these fields of tension, we are being called to cut through this cynicism or the fear, depending on which extreme you end up sort of choosing for yourself. Yeah, the extremes are always bad. They always bring imbalance to you. They always create an inner split. So depending on what end of the spectrum you find yourself here, this needs to be balanced out. So let's do this step by step here real quick, because the energy talks are really here not to just do some spiritual blah blah, but to help you with practical tips. And if you believe it or not, from my perspective, spirituality is actually the science of consciousness. It is the way that we can learn to cut through all these illusions of our ego. And again, the ego isn't darkness per se. It's subjected to the absence of light, the absence of love, the absence of truth, and somehow has to find ways to deal with it. And there's a lower expression of that, and we've clearly seen this lower expression here in these last 3 years. Yeah, massive polarization among people, a restriction of the freedom of speech, yeah, and an emotionalization and weaponization of minority thinking. Yeah, this split that I mentioned, this duality didn't just happen within ourselves. This happened on the outside as well, and it led to us attacking each other. The very thing that robs us of our power to be an active part in that transformation. So this confrontation with lies, with untruths, okay, led to us self-censor us. It controlled our minds without ourselves realizing it. Why? Because we took on those narratives, those stories, without checking them. We conditioned ourselves to self-censoring. And even things like wokeness. I don't know if you saw this. There was a lecture that I did 3 years ago, yeah, about the difference between being awake and being woke, and how this is going to be used against us. It is already, yeah, and it's creating a lot of confusion. So the confrontation with untruth creates confusion, and confusion creates the need for our ego to cope. And when it's a mental confusion, it does that in form of narratives. Further, what happened was a restriction of our freedom through social distancing, through all these dualities that were clearly not solvable by us individuals, through money, yeah, through inflation, through property prices, and all other prices of fundamental goods rising, skyrocketing, through the introduction of digital ID/vaccine passports. And now, the introduction of artificial intelligence and the transhumanism that everybody's afraid of. Yeah. This bombardment makes us become more machine-like in our ways of thinking, in our thought, in our school of thought. If you truly believe this, I mean, obviously there are dangers. Obviously we have to learn how to deal with these new technologies that really aren't that new. If you've been following me for, 10 years or whatever, you've heard me talk about this 10 years ago. I wrote articles, did workshops on digital currencies and so forth, at a time where people still thought that was just for weapons dealers. Okay, yeah. So this restriction that we have experienced has led to us giving up the power that connects us, that makes us strong together. And it has, quite frankly, led to us giving up hope. Yeah, so if you buy into transhumanism and you express that and you bicker about AI and so forth, you're not getting it. Of course it's dangerous. Of course it's going to bring another confrontation, namely the confrontation with restriction in. Yeah, just as much as this confrontation with coldness and utter inhumanness in the past 3 years, yeah, and the fear of the unknown future, how that triggered the lowest of the lowest human expressions. You gotta understand what these confrontations with untruth, with restriction, and with fear and hatred are for. What does it remind us of? What does it make force us to ask ourselves here? Didn't it make us become more aware of how important connection to family and friends is? Didn't it make us become more aware that we can't believe everything blindly? That we can't have blind faith or blind trust in things? Didn't it make us become more aware what this disconnection from warmth and love and empathy does to us, how it damages us? These confrontations with the lack of truth, the lack of freedom, and the lack of love, guys, are there. They're fulfilling a purpose, are there to show us what happens if we don't actively step into truth, freedom, and love as the three main powers of all of us humans. And it forces us until it becomes obvious that we finally have to make a choice and take responsibility for ourselves, including our thoughts, including our expressions, including our integrity in living together, talking, communicating with another, and begin to more consciously choose what we align ourselves with, whom we associate ourselves with, whose products we buy, who we ally with. That is our task here as individuals and collective. So what are our powers in this here? What are the weapons that we have, yeah, to become more resilient and break through this and claim our freedom? Yeah, how can we break through this confrontation with untruth? What is the purpose? How can it help us grow? Currently, the confrontation with untruth is obvious, yeah, no matter where you look. These narratives are being questioned. These, especially not just the things that happened here during the past years, also the things that are older, 20 years, 30 years, or even 40 years, yeah, are being questioned. And there are a lot of things that we will now uncover, yeah, that were always available, but nobody really looked at it, or just a very few people that were then called, conspiracy theorists. So for 2023, remember I predicted that the conspiracy theorists are going to have a victory lap. Yeah, like it's not really the conspiracies and not really the woo-woo stuff. It's the part about those conspiracies that has to do with uncovering truth. So what it forces us to do is actually to learn how to discern truth. Yeah, and in these next 4 years, as this is sort of becoming more and more aware to us, we need to learn how to discern. Yeah, obviously that's part of using the technology, that human technology that is in us called consciousness, to have your own insights and use your heart to bring those insights into your mind. It's what religious people call spirit. So spirit is the ability to consciously and freely think through the heart without emotions. It's not emotional, guys. There's a big difference here. Every truth nurtures, spirit nurtures creation, nurtures hope, nurtures beauty. That's what we're learning. So you need to ask yourself, where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in 4 years from now? Whom do you want to go there with? And how are you taking responsibility for your own needs and wants to be put in place? That's your task right now. Yeah. So your power is truth telling, because that's how you counteract the current narrative, not just out there. Yeah. So obviously, when it comes to the collective and politics and stuff, we don't really have that much power unless, we find together as groups. But also within your own mind, with your own narratives, the stories that you have been telling yourself. Yeah, this will now continue to build until the end of October. And the best tips I can give you here, starting today, really, is to first and foremost remember that, some of the most fundamental physical functions that you have, such as breathing, okay, that's part of your access, your gateway to your power. So use breathing for centering, use breathing for grounding. Make sure that you're fully here, because when you stand in your body, okay, your mind's narrative has a smaller grip on you, okay? If you then learn some of these other, self-clearing and self-healing tools that we can all learn, okay, you can actually begin to understand the bigger picture of your own life. You can do full-on karma and biography work and understand what you must do next, what the next step has to be. We can all turn lies into truths, guys, and it starts within ourselves. We can all turn restriction into freedom by allowing ourselves the freedom to explore, to investigate, to question. We can all turn fear and hatred into love. Those are our powers. And that's what we call transformation. And the only thing you really need to claim this freedom, this truth, this love in you is courage. Because once you're over the hump, once you're in truth, you no longer need to muscle through everything and run around white knuckle trying to control everything. You don't, because truth is self-sustaining. It's self-propelled, guys. Truth always wins. What's so exhausting about your life is all the stuff that you're trying to control, the narratives, the stories, how people see you, your false selves, all that. Why don't you just have the courage to let that go and recognize that what really makes you human is your spirit, is your heart, is your soul, is your body, is your mind, and all of it together. We need to learn to balance all these aspects: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, and energetic. Then you will be very clear how to organize your life, how to organize yourself with others, and what your powers truly are, what your choices need to be. There is something that I would like to quote. I heard someone talk about this yesterday. It's an American philosopher, psychiatrist actually, I think originally. Forgive me if this is wrong, Jordan Peterson. And he said something that really struck deep with me. Any responsibility you abdicate will be grabbed by someone power hungry. Every responsibility you abdicate will be grabbed by the power hungry, by the ones that want to dominate, the ones that want to control you. So pay attention to what messaging you let in. Pay attention to your own inner narratives, your own inner messaging, your critical inner voice, and stay conscious. Use everything that you have, right, to connect with yourself, with your body, with your heart, with your mind as well, yes, and with your spirit. And if you need a little bit of guidance for this, then go to my website, transcodes.com. That's what I am offering. Systematic and very structured spiritual consciousness work without religion, without New Age. Yes, with this, I would like to close, guys, since you all came here live. Any closing remarks from you or questions, perhaps? I love you guys. I see you very soon in our Sacreds of Healing workshops and lectures, and in our live energy sessions that can be booked here like an energy jam. Yes, so, or, even in our online meditations that are going on every day. Yes, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for sharing those videos and for helping other people to stay conscious. Bye-bye.